fans of Severance will recognize this scenario. Workers performing seemingly abstract tasks with hidden, real-world consequences. In Borderlands 3, this wasn't just fiction. Millions of gamers solved puzzles that stumped supercomputers, unknowingly revolutionizing our understanding of the trillions of microbes secretly controlling your brain chemistry in one of the most ingenious scientific undertakings ever created. Your body is not just you. Less than half of the cells in your body are human. There are 100 trillion bacteria that are living in your gut right now, and they have a direct line to your brain through the vagus nerve and play an important role in just about every function of the body imaginable, impacting conditions ranging from metabolic health like obesity and diabetes to neurological conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and even your day-to-day mood and energy levels. Gut-based therapies could help with all of this, but mapping out the roughly 1,000 species of bacteria, figuring out who's who and how they're related, is where science hit a massive wall. It's not enough to just know that bacteria are important. Researchers need a detailed family tree to understand their functions and connections. So researchers extracted the bacterial DNA through people's shit. Let's just stop for a moment to applaud these people who do this work for the betterment of society. But when they sequenced all the rRNA, which you can think of like barcodes, they got a mess back. Millions of air-filled fragments. For this data to be useful, they needed to align these barcodes perfectly, called multiple sequence alignment or MSA. This is a task so complex that the most clever algorithms running on supercomputers can't solve it perfectly. So researchers were standing up against a monumental task, needing to figure out how in the world they could get past it. Then came a realization. If they broke the problem down into small, puzzle-like pieces, it was rather easy for them to spit out a good solution themselves, as one of the human brain's best attributes is finding patterns in chaos. But there was one small issue with this. It would take a researcher working 8 hours per day for 12 straight years just to solve the million puzzles once. And they realized that one person solving each puzzle one time wasn't going to lead to the best solution. Luckily for the lead scientist working on this, Professor Jerome Waldespool, I tried my best, I'll refer to him as the professor from now on. The professor had experience working on what's called a citizen science game from past research, where a game is specifically created so that some science issue can be gamified, which allows crowdsourcing a problem out to a bunch of enthusiastic gamers. But this project's scale was unprecedented. With the sheer number of puzzles, they needed millions of players, far more than any previous citizen science game had ever reached. So the professor connected with MMOS, Massively Multiplayer Online Science, whose existence was to facilitate exactly this kind of collaboration. They pitched the idea to the Borderlands creator and Gearbox CEO, Randy Pitchford, and Pitchford didn't just like the idea, he loved it and became a champion for the project. Thus began one of the largest scientific undertakings ever. The way this massive project reached the players was brilliantly integrated right into the game world. You would stumble upon this optional mission in Tannis' science lab, leading you to this, a retro arcade machine. You'd normally expect to jump right into a wacky Borderlands-style minigame. Instead, you're greeted by the voice of Mayim Bialik.
Hey folks, this is Mayim Bialik, actor, PhD scientist, researcher, and your favorite person.
Yup, Amy from The Big Bang Theory, who also happens to be a neuroscientist. She explains this isn't just a game, but you're contributing to actual scientific research. What you see after looks pretty familiar, like Candy Crush or Tetris, but instead of jewels or blocks, these stacked columns of colored bricks actually represent real DNA. These are the genetic barcodes that are broken. See the icons lining the left side? Those are your guide bricks. This is what scientists think the alignment should look like at each spot, based on the computer's initial imperfect analysis. Your main tool, these yellow gap bricks. you only get a limited number per puzzle. This is where the pattern matching skills come in. When you slot one in, everything above it in that column shifts up one spot. Sometimes to move one color to its correct spot, it will move another out of its correct spot. Because of this, most puzzles don't have a perfect solution. The goal is just to match as many as you possibly can with the limited number of gap breaks. Now look at the target score. This is what a basic computer algorithm manages. Remember how we said algorithms struggle with this? Beating that score is proof that your human intuition, your pattern spotting brain, found a better alignment than a machine could. But that's just the basic challenge. The real challenge comes from pushing the score as high as you possibly can, as the game tells you the high score from other players. Some high scores were even set by Mayim herself. The higher score you squeeze out represents cleaner, more accurate data for the scientists, so players get a deeper satisfaction from achieving high scores, more than they could from any other game. Okay, so we have this clever puzzle game tucked inside Borderlands, but did people actually play? The results shocked the professor. In just 12 hours, it surpasses previous games' player base. What was the secret sauce here? Why did Borderlands science absolutely explode when previous citizen science games stayed pretty niche? This wasn't just luck, it was smart choices brilliantly executed. They didn't just shove the minigame somewhere random. Finding a weird retro arcade cabinet in Tannis' eccentric science lab, it feels like Borderlands. When players jumped in, it didn't feel like they were doing work disguised as a game. It was polished. They offered players rewards like you would get from other similar missions, cosmetics and boosters that offer players more XP gains in the main game. So you mix that seamless integration, real polish, and legitimate rewards, and you get an explosion, reaching over 4 million players who solved 135 million puzzles, 34 puzzles each. But getting players to play wasn't the final test. The real test is if a bunch of data from players who know nothing about DNA would actually work. 5 years later, we finally have the answer. The paper was published in one of the world's top biology journals, Nature Biotechnology. The results? Player-generated alignments were significantly better than those produced by leading algorithms. Because there wasn't one correct answer, the scientists had to get clever on how to score the results. So they came up with 5 different metrics. Does it score higher? This one was easy and we knew it right from the start of the game, but they needed to verify this with other metrics. Are the gaps sensible? Can we verify the gaps placed by the humans are realistic? Check. Does it make a more accurate family tree? Check. Does it reveal clear biology? AKA, can it help us with distinguishing microbial communities between groups of people based on diet, health conditions, or lifestyles? Check. This is key for improving people's lives. More on that soon. Does it respect the 3D shape? The RNA folds into a 3D structure. Does that structure make sense? Check. Across the board, players who knew next to nothing about the study itself perform better than any computational method. So why? What did millions of gamers intuitively figure out? A key factor seems to be how players handled the gaps. It turns out, algorithms struggled when inserting a gap that temporarily messes up a small section, while humans can see the bigger picture and know they're building up towards a better solution. But it gets even better. These patterns that the humans found can now be used to train an AI system to not just solve 1 million puzzles, but tens of millions of puzzles, to refine our understanding of these tiny organisms that influence so much of our lives. Okay, great. We have a better alignment and a path towards full understanding. What does that actually mean for all of us, for our health and finding new treatments? That's where things get really exciting. You know probiotics, the thing you know is good for you, but you don't really know why? These help your gut microbials as a whole, but there's no targeting or intelligence there. We just know it's important to feed it. But with the help of this new research, we can upgrade our blurry, hand-drawn map into a high-res GPS. We can finally pinpoint exactly which microbes are messing things up or helping things out. Figuring out the family tree wasn't just academic, it's fueling the development of therapies that sound straight from a sci-fi movie but are getting real fast. Imagine getting a pill with bacteria, basically engineered programmable robots, designed to make it to your gut and become little worker bees for your body, doing things ranging from pumping out signals that tell tumors to stop growing and start regressing, or even produce therapies to help keep cells young. This is actually happening. And because that GPS map helps us pinpoint exactly which bacteria are harmful, we can more easily rid the gut of bad bacteria like E. coli. And instead of therapies that completely wreck your gut just to get rid of one type of bacteria, we're moving towards building things like bacteriophages, which is a virus that can be engineered to target a specific harmful bacteria. And remember that direct line from the gut to the brain? Scientists have been able to swap healthy gut microbes into a depressed animal's gut, and have found that it can be an effective therapy for treating different mental health issues. With targeted therapies, we can refine this even further. Instead of just swapping out guts wholesale, we can add specific bacteria that can produce serotonin or other important chemicals for your brain. Then develop personalized medicine to fix the exact issues. Of course, your gut microbiome isn't the only thing causing mental health issues, but we've recently discovered just how crucial a role that it plays. All of this is going to come so much faster than it would have thanks to the work done by the creators of Borderlands, Borderlands Science, and the 4 million gamers who participated. Thanks for watching.